Hello, C4 Corvette owners, admirers, and lovers. I wanted to talk a little bit about replacing the power antenna on a C4 Corvette. This is a 1994. I've already taken the existing one out, and here's the existing one. You can still buy these as an AC Delco brand, but by the time you pay for shipping and tax, it's about $315, or it was for me anyway. So I decided to try out this universal. Decided to try out this universal one, and so far I've bench tested it, and I'll go through that with you, and I'll show you how to bench test it. I would recommend you do that first. So we'll do that next. Okay, so here's the bench test. I've got my trusted battery, 12-volt battery. I got these alligator clips. You can see these alligator clips right here from Amazon. I think with tax they were a little over $8. And it's both a negative, black for negative and red for positive. And then off of the audio tech, you'll see 3 wires. The black one is going to be ground, so you're going to ground that one to the battery. The red one is the constant power supply. The green one is the intermittent power supply, so when you hit it with power, it's going to extend the antenna, and then when you take the power away, it'll retract the antenna. What I did was I cut off this wire harness, I guess you can call it, with the pins in it off of the old unit, the old power unit. Here's the old power unit. I showed it to you earlier, and I just cut it right off of here, and so that way I was able to maintain the wires and this piece here, which you're going to snap back into the Corvette. You can wire this up any way you want, but I mean the constant power really is the obvious one. It's orange, and so I soldered it to the red wire. The pink one is the middle one here. It's the middle wire, and I soldered it on to the intermittent power supply, to the AudioTech universal power antenna, and then obviously I just soldered the black to the black. And right now I have the constant power hooked up to my positive part of the battery, and I've got the negative hooked up. And then as soon as I hit it, as soon as I get this green wire to connect, I'm going to hit it here. You're going to see that power. You're going to see the antenna extend. What's really nice about having a 1994 is that the 1992 through 1996 Corvettes, you can just take these old units right off, and you can just hook these audio techs right up to the Corvette. It's basically a one-to-one, one-for-one power supply, because the wires coming out of the Corvette are going to be the same as this. If you have an older Corvette, what I've heard the trick is that you need to get rid of the relay. There's a relay in the 84 to 91 Corvettes that's going to completely mess with this wiring that I'm showing you. It's not going to be the same. So I don't know too much about it because I don't have an 84 through 91. The Corvette I have is a 94. So I don't know too much about it, but what I've heard is that you're going to have to find the relay. I think it's just what you just power right into, and so it's this piece here, and when you push this piece in, you're pushing it into a relay. It's going to look a little different than this, and so you're going to have to get rid of that relay, and then then your wiring should work. Keyword there is should. Okay, so let's see what happens here when I hit this. So I'm going to put this green pink wire to my positive side of the terminal, and let's see what happens. Let's make sure that we get the antenna coming out. And there we go. And I don't know why it clicks a few times there. And then we're going to take it off, and it retracts. So there we go. That was pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect my batteries. Just kind of disconnect everything. The other things you're going to have to do is I wound up keeping this piece out of the Corvette. It's what all this wiring goes through before it goes to your Corvette. I'll show you a little bit more about that. The audio tech comes with the antenna part so that you can get signal on your radio. And then what's interesting here is that what comes out of the Corvette, the old unit that comes out of the Corvette, is a female end. Okay, so then what's going to be in the Corvette is a male end. So what's coming out of the Corvette is a male end. And then when you look at the audio tech, once you plug this in, you also have a male end. So you have two male ends, and that's not going to work because when you connect this up, you can't connect it to a male end in the Corvette. You've got a male end on that side too. So what I wound up doing was just purchasing I wound up purchasing this, which is a 12-inch lead, female to female, that will hook onto both ends, and then you'll be able to connect your radio antenna. Okay, the other piece that I wound up taking off was this piece here. This is I think what they call a bevel, and it just fits right on here. But I gotta tell you, to take it off was a bear for me, and I'm not sure that it needs to come off. I think it will, because what they wind up providing for you on this universal audio tech is all these other options for your vehicle. So let me show you how it kind of fits on. So on the old one, it just fits on kind of pretty snug. It just kind of goes right on. There. It just slides. It slides right in on there and at any kind of elevation. So now let's try it on the audio tech, and you're going to see that I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. But here we go. It kind of seems to it slides on there a little bit. So if you're only at that depth, then that's going to work. But I think that the antenna is going to sit a little higher than that, and it won't sit higher than that. That's because of this flange that's on here. So we're going to wind up monkeying with this a little bit more, and we'll probably get to that. Let's see. All right, the other thing too is that you're going to see videos about how there really isn't any room underneath here to get this out, and it's best to take this tire off and then maybe even take this off. I'm going to claim BS on that. I thought there was plenty of room underneath here to get the old unit out, and I've even tried putting the new unit in so that you can kind of see it'll fit. It's going to fit right in there, and I've already tried putting the new unit in. It fits right in place. So I don't find the benefit of taking this tire off and then taking all that off just to have a little extra room. I think there's plenty of room underneath here. Maybe if you've got gorilla-sized hands and they're huge, maybe that's not going to work for you and you need to take off this tire. But these are the size of my hands. They're not exactly small. They're not huge either. But I had plenty of room to work underneath there. So before I wound up soldering the old leads to the new universal power antenna, what I did was I put on the wires this shrink wrap tubing right here, and so that goes on before you solder it. Now that it's on, we're going to shrink it over the solder joints. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. You can pick these up at Harbor Freight. That's the cheapest place I found to get it. So how we're going to shrink that shrink tubing onto the wire is this. I've got this deluxe heat gun. I'm not sure they make this anymore, but they'll make something like it still. Be careful of these guns, they're very hot. I think it says on here that the nozzle heat exceeds 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And so you'll see that I'm wearing a glove on this hand because I'm gonna be getting pretty close to the heat that comes out of this gun, and I don't want to burn my hand. And I'm gonna do one for you just so that you see how this goes. We're gonna place that over the shrink wrap tubing, and I'm gonna try to hold this as best I can. And maybe I don't need to. You want to work pretty fast with this thing. So the other thing to keep in mind when you're going to use the universal power antenna is that it's not going to be exactly the same size as the old unit. If you line these up and measure them, you're going to see that the old unit is about 3/4 of an inch longer than the new unit. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and use the bracket that they sent to you. And this is how I fitted mine so that it'll go up into the car and I can still anchor it to the car. And if you extend, now if you go ahead and adjust the bracket to the height, to the same height as the old unit, you'll see that it's pretty close. It's about the same height now. Maybe it's even a little bit longer, and that's gonna work. That's gonna work just fine. This is how I wound up anchoring this bracket to the unit so that it'll work for you, and when you put it up in there, it's going to go ahead and anchor to the old brackets that are in the car too. The trick is that you want to take an extension of this bolt here, and if you run it through, you'll have this connection here that you're going to connect to the car. And then when you do that, and you bend this wire over, you'll be able to bend the wire over, this bracket over, so that you'll be able to anchor it to the bottom of the car as well. Because this is such a short piece of the bracket, it's very tough. It's not going to bend. And it all has to do with, if you're familiar with engineering term, buckling. This short piece is so short that it's not going to move. If it was a really long piece, then it would probably bend, and that's the whole theory behind buckling. And then this piece is going to move, but it's anchored right back up to the existing bracket, so it serves as a support. And then I can't remember which one of these will fit to the car, but it's going to be one of these will fit to the car just fine. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what I did. Okay, so now we have the hatch open on the C4, and what I'm going to show you is how you're going to get to the wiring for your power antenna. It's going to sit right back in here in this area. In order to do that, we're going to take off some screws like this one here, this one right here. There's one right there. There's two right here, another two right here, and then so on. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove all this plastic right here so we can get to the wiring. And then I'm going to show you how we can, once we get to the wiring, how you can test your radio so that you can figure out which wires go where. You're not going to be able to get this piece of plastic off until you get this off. So we're just going to pull that off right here, and it just pops right off. Just like that. And what I do is I keep a magnetic cup holder here to keep all the screws in. So we'll go ahead and start. And I'll just take one off just to give you an idea. It's really easy to do. Put it in our magnetic tray here, and then I'll be back to show you how this plastic piece comes off. All the screws are out. You can see that you're going to pull this panel out just a little bit. Same here. It's going to kind of just lay out there a little bit. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just sort of pull this forward. You've got to get it past this piece right here. And so what you'll do is you'll just kind of pull this forward a little bit. And there you go. And we'll just lay it in here like that. And then you can see all of your wiring here. And one of the things you want to do is you want to, when you take the old unit out, go ahead and leave yourself a string line back in the direction of where you came so that you can feed your wiring back through again, because otherwise I don't know how you're going to feed that back through. Yeah, I'll show you some more of that underneath. And then a couple of things that are in here. Here's the end of the tab that I was showing you before. We kind of soldered that, and we're testing with it, and it's going to snap. That piece is going to snap right into here. And then in here somewhere is here's the male end to the antenna for the reception that I was talking about. So we're going to be working with that too once we pull this through. So what we're going to do next is we're actually going to turn the not the car on, but we're going to put it in the on position so that everything fires up, and we're going to go ahead and test this unit here so I can show you. We've got an orange, green, and black lead, and we're going to test those to make sure they're hot and so that the unit's going to work. I'm going to do this quickly. Set your multimeter. Again, I got this at Harbor Freight, but set it so that it's at 20 on the DC voltage side. And what we're going to do is right now the radio is off, but we're going to see if we've got that constant power we were talking about. So the far right is the black lead, and then we're going to take it to our power lead and make sure that we've got power. And we do. It's not registering very much, but we're about 8 volts. And the battery, the car's been sitting here for about a week, so the battery's down. Now if we go over to the intermittent side, let's try it like this so you can see. So I'm not sure that this car is going to start. And the battery just died. So sorry about that, but yeah, the car's been sitting here for a week, so the battery was not very fresh and the battery died. But what you want to do is, you could see you could kind of see that we were getting 8 volts out of the constant power supply side. Go ahead and take your multimeter. Just go ahead and touch the red side here, and that's your constant power. And then at the same time, go ahead and touch the black lead in here at the same time, and you could see that we were getting about 8 volts. That was with the radio off. And then with the radio off, you were not going to get any power to this intermittent side where we've got the green wire. But you could do that, and I've already done this before, so I already know what's going to happen. But you go ahead and test the intermittent side when the radio's off, and you're not going to get anything. It's going to be 0. Then turn the radio on, and when you touch the constant hot power, you're going to go ahead and get probably about 12 volts. I think I was around 11.5 or so with a nice charged battery. And then I was getting about 8 or 9 volts on the intermittent side, which is just enough to run the antenna. So there you go. And so then you know that's you want to probably do this as one of your first steps, just to make sure you're soldering the correct lead to your audio tech. Okay? All right, so in order to get to installing the new radio, we're going to have access to the radio, and we're really going to use most of it through this back tail light, maybe the one next to it as well, a little bit. And the way we're going to do that is to get these off, ultimately, is we need to go through the license plate and then this light here. The license plate is a star wrench, so I've already gotten that off. This is just gonna come out from the tabs there. There we go. It's actually not that hard to do, but when you've just got one hand, because you're filming it, it's really not that easy. So you're just going to set it off to the side just like that, just for now. It should just stay there. Now you can put your arm through, and these tail lights are going to come out with another star wrench. But then in order to get to the back plate, you're going to have to get in behind here with the wrench and get those out. And I'll talk about that here next. Okay, I am back, and I have taken off the tail light covers for the housing here. Earlier I was mentioning that we want to take these off to put the radio in. I'm just having a brain fart. It's getting late in the day. I'm tired. We're taking these off so that we have access to put the power antenna unit in, not the radio. The radio is already in the car. So what I've got here is a 10 millimeter wrench, and I'm not sure if the 10 millimeter wrench is the right wrench to get out these bolts from behind. These bolts are going to actually sit like right about, right there and like right there behind, and you just need to go in from behind here to get those out. Don't yank these or pull these in any way. They don't pop out. You actually have to physically get 2 bolts out for this one and 2 bolts out for this one. And so I'm going to do that next. I have the units, these taillight units that are out. So I am ready to anchor the power unit into the bottom of the car, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of room in here, but there's going to be plenty of room. And here's going to be my shoestring feed for my cabling. What I'm going to do is I believe I'm going to try to anchor this in first and then feed my cabling through. And this is pretty much, the last steps just to getting the new unit installed, and we're pretty much done at that point. Feed your wiring through, hook it up, put everything back together, and you should be done. I probably will show you how it works when it's all installed And the most important thing will be, does the antenna come up vertical, or does it, swing off to a side? That'll be the interesting part. Okay, so we're gonna go back up and talk a little bit more back here about what's going on. So when the old unit came off, there were quite a few, I would say, grounding connections that you had to make, including these lights. These lights here were actually grounded to the unit. So you need to go ahead and find a way to ground them. You can see that I've done some grounding right there, just to get those lights grounded. If they were grounded before, you should probably ground them. Go ahead and ground them now. And then there was also another grounding. I had no idea where this was coming from, so what it needs to be ground, but this right here, I've gone ahead and attached it right there. But that was also attached to the bracket of the it was attached to the bracket of the power antenna unit, and I've gone ahead and relocated that. So you've got that work to do too. I wouldn't forget to do that. You just never know. Okay, welcome back. This is the morning after. I spent last night getting the power antenna in, and this was one of the steps here, as I wound up keeping the original bevel, and you can rifle through the bag of products that they gave you to fit it. I wound up picking the one that kind of looks like this. I don't know if you can see that okay, but obviously it has a little fatter part to it on the very top. It looks very much like this, but it's a little fatter. And then you can work the bevel in, and it's pretty snug. The key here is you're going to want to try to keep the rain and water out as much as possible. And this is such a snug fit that I doubt very much water is going to get in here. I did have to put the bevel in with some Vaseline. It was so snug, and a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver. So you're gonna kind of work the flathead screwdriver in around the edges to push it in, because otherwise, if you just try to push it in, it won't go in. I wanted to show you how this all wound up working out underneath the vehicle. So we'll go ahead and turn so here it is anchored. There you can see it's all anchored and looking pretty good. What I'm going to do is I've got some thread locker that I'll show you. I wound up having on the very bottom part of the screen there, you'll see a wire. I think that's coming from the lights, and it got loose, so I just went ahead and anchored it to the bracket. I think it's for ground, and I wound up anchoring it to the bracket for the power unit. Okay. And my last step is going to be putting in some of this medium thread locker. I found some of this, and I'm going to go ahead and thread it onto the nuts and the bolts, or I guess the nuts part of the bolt, so that it doesn't loop back out, because this is an area that you're never going to go back and look at. And because it's an area you're never going to go back to look at, you're never going to know if any of the nuts came off, and you really don't want the nuts to come off that bracket. Okay guys, I am so excited today, because today is the day that I get to test out the power antenna unit that I've spent so much time putting in. So let's test it out and let's see what happens. So here we go. I'm going to switch it to radio And as you can see, it's the unit, the antenna is down. So we're gonna keep going here until we get to the end radio. There we go. Here we go. It goes up pretty good. And is it perfectly straight? Not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's pretty close. Okay, now we're gonna lower it. And now it's coming down. All right, we are in business. I am incredibly excited about this project. And one thing that what you're watching here is 15 to 20 minutes of video, but what you don't see is I wound up spending about 6 weeks on this project. It was a culmination of testing the old unit to see if I could really use it. When that didn't work and it was truly broken, what I wound up doing was doing a lot of research to figure out, do I spend a lot of money on the unit that's supposed to go with the car, or can I use this universal unit? So it was a lot of research to try and figure out like what will work in the car. And the one thing I didn't share with you is that when I originally tested the plug into the car, the antenna didn't work at all. There was no power whatsoever. And that was like a week's worth of testing of why it wasn't working. And the reason why is because, interestingly, with the old unit, you'd plug it in and it would get power. And with a new unit, for some reason, one of the leads, I had to trace back the power to one of the leads, and one of the leads just wasn't connecting with the female unit, so I had to crimp the female part of the plug. And when I did that, I got power. That was like a week's worth of work, just tracing and trying to figure out why this unit wouldn't get any power. So I mean, it's going to be a lot of work. It's not very difficult. My total cost for this project was about $60. So between this unit and the female to female adapter, and then the alligator clips that you saw me using to test, the whole thing was about $60. I thought that was a pretty good deal. So this is Will. I think that's it. This is Will. I live in the East Valley of Sacramento, and this is me signing out.